I think if there was one thing that anyone should know about Sue, it would be that she would fight tooth and nail for anyone or anything that she believed in, and she wouldn't stop fighting until she won.
Sue was a complex lady. She could be intimidating. I think relentless. I would say Sue was relentless. Sue was fiery.
You know, one of my mother's real talents was making ideas come to fruition, to come to life. She was utterly dynamic. She was the last one to bed and the first one to rise. She had this bundle of energy. She was a real force, and she dedicated that force, she directed that force towards the legacy.
Amongst the many things I get to do as a jazz musician, one of my favorite is as a pianist with the Charles Mingus Big Band.
I play the tenor saxophone, and I've been a part of the Mingus Big Band Orchestra and Dynasty for 22 years.
This band doesn't just play the music as Mingus recorded it. You know, I think our hope and our goal is to keep moving the music forward. And how can this music continue to evolve in the context of today? I think all great art is eternal, and Mingus's music addresses issues in society that were important to him. I think those issues, unfortunately, still continue to plague us as a society in some ways. And so that music continues to grow, evolve, and live on, which I think Mingus would love that.
Well, I think Charles Mingus's music certainly had a message, and I think the message of social justice and equity and freedom was an integral part of the music. Sue paid deep attention to that part of it. So she could have possibly just made it about the music and not included the whole social justice thing just to make it easier and more palatable for people. But she didn't want to do that because that wouldn't be authentically Mingus, and she knew that.
Charles was originally, I think, characterized as a bassist, but as we all know, he had this tremendous catalog that was second only to Duke Ellington, and it was his compositions that really were an incredible achievement. My mother made huge donations to the Library of Congress of Mingus writings, of Mingus manuscripts, of the original scores. She did so not only to ensure that they would be properly preserved, but to ensure that the music historians and music lovers of the future would have access to them. That's what she was constantly doing and thinking about, ways of getting the music out there, getting people to listen to it, getting people to play it. Really, I think it's one of her amazing contributions to the legacy. She created a Mingus High School competition, which is attended by high school students across the nation. They come to New York to compete. She got our newest generations into Mingus music.
And they get to sit in with the Mingus Big Band at the end of it all at the jazz clubs, which is, I think, I remember getting to sit in as a student. What a thrill that is. Something a young musician really needs is just the opportunity to play. Because there are things I believe one can't get to in the practice room. You just don't know until you're on the stage playing, experiencing what it's like to go through certain scenarios. So I think, single-handedly, Sue not only invigorated and elevated Mingus's legacy, she also created this incredible forum and continuing opportunity for musicians young and more experienced to learn this music, share this music. As a young musician, getting that kind of exposure is, I think, invaluable. In jazz music, it's so important to have advocates. And I think you couldn't have a better advocate than Sue Mingus. She championed Mingus's music. She worked tirelessly to have it spread and shared, not just in the jazz clubs. One couldn't ask for more than that.